Yo, what's good everybody, it's Sketch and welcome back to the channel. And on today's episode we're taking a look at Cyber Shadow, developed by Mechanical Head Studios and published by Yacht Club Games. This is a 2D side-scrolling action platformer with a retro aesthetic. You'll venture through 10 stages of ninjas, dragons, sentient motorcycles, and more robots than you can shake some circuitry at. This is one of those games that feels like every ninja game from the past all rolled into one, and it's a spicy mixture. So before we get into all that, let's check out the story real quick. In a world overrun by machines, the cybernetic ninja Shadow sets out to discover what caused this invasion, which threw Mecha City into ruin. The pleas for help are the driving force as you cut through countless waves of synthetic and mechanical foes and discover the whereabouts of your master. Once you start the game, it's very reminiscent of 8-bit ninja and action platformer games like Strider, Shadow of the Ninja, Ninja Gaiden, and Castlevania, mixed in with some more modern conventions in the controls department like the Shovel Knight series. And it certainly combines it into quite the formula of fast-paced antics with some sharp style cutscenes and a healthy dose of difficulty to tie it all together. Gameplay wise, Cyber Shadow has a fair bit going on. It's an action platformer in the vein of Ninja Gaiden and the exploration of the later Castlevania games, and it's no slouch when it comes to running through enemies like a mower blade while jumping over electrified gaps between floating platforms. It really is just about every ninja game IP rolled into one, and holy shit, it's fun. As you play through, you'll acquire more abilities like stronger attacks, ground and air dashes, shurikens, and a downward sword dive are amongst the skills you can pick up along the way. Checkpoints will also have shops where you can get options that recover your health and special gauges, along with a drone that can add some additional firepower or provide a barrier as long as you don't take damage with them equipped. Much like the visual and gameplay aesthetics of the aforementioned franchises Cyber Shadow is influenced by, it also follows suit with its difficulty. Between the boss fights and the platforming, there's a wide variety of ways to get smoked here, though there are checkpoints in each of the 10 stages. Some of those checkpoints are going to be spread out and usually after a more rigorous section, so getting comfortable with the controls as well as the abilities is going to be paramount to making progress here. You get infinite lives, so you have more than enough chances to get it right or pay the price. Graphics wise, this is also pretty dope with some really impressive pixel and sprite work, and colors have a varied range from bright and vibrant to dark, more brooding palettes. The character designs here are also pretty tight with tons of robotic and cyborg creations, and like I mentioned earlier, visually it pulls from several points of reference. The boss designs here too are also pretty sick with some huge sprites at times, though don't get stuck taking in the scenery for too long since they will delete you on repeat until you figure out their patterns. The cutscenes are also in a similar style of Ninja Gaiden with the letterbox ratio, and it's got some really solid sprite work here as well as you see more of the story and often get introduced to the supporting members of your clan as the game progresses. You get a fairly good mix of environments and enemies, and the level of detail ain't nothing to sneeze at, long story short. If you're a fan of 80s and 90s era ninja games, then there's a good chance you'll dig the art style all around here. Sound wise, it's also pretty tight with some solid tunes through the game's 10 stages. Cyber Shadow has some certified jams in there, especially with a few of the boss and level themes. The audio here reminds me a lot of the Shinobi games and Ninja Gaiden if they were kind of mashed together into one. The soundtrack has got some range too, from more driving, energetic tunes to more bleak tunes during some of the exploration sections that can drum up some ominous vibes, which again is pretty tight. Sound effects wise, again it has a familiar feel in the sound department which can drum up memories of other games. The sound of the impact when grinding through enemies is pretty satisfying, but believe you'll get just as familiar with the sounds of death too because you'll hear them often, and it has a similar vibe to the NES Castlevania games. Overall, Cyber Shadow is a great action platformer which uses a classic set of ideas and gives it a modern day functionality. It's got a healthy dose of challenge, yet it is forgiving enough to let you learn how to progress even when the game does start to beat you down. Visually, it crushes it with pixel and sprite work, and all around is really fun to play and figure out. Cyber Shadow gets an 8.5 out of 10, and it comes recommended to fans of action platformers and run and gun style games, since the action moves quick once it gets going. It's got a fair bit to offer in the gameplay department, and the story will remind you of some staples in retro games. Plus it's got robots and ninjas, so out of the gate this one was killing it. You can find this on the Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, and PC. And I thank you again for checking out this video. If you find these videos helpful, that's awesome. I'm glad you can use it as a resource. Check back often. We'll have more reviews, video commentaries, and all that cool stuff coming up in the future. But until then, stay safe out there, take it easy. I'll see you on the next one.